The Virginia Tech Hokies turn chicken. Bail on playing JMU. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we'll get to the college basketball, which was really good. Actually, the Marshall-Coastal Carolina game was insane compared to the Troy Southern Miss ball game that was done at the second part of the first half. And then who stays hot tonight? Arkansas State is traveling to Mobile to take on South Alabama. But first, the big news of the day on Wednesday. How badly did Virginia Tech not want to play JMU? They ponied up $800,000 not to play JMU in 2026. Now, they had to let go of one of their teams, which would have been one of the teams they play, which would have been VMI, Old Dominion, or JMU. And they need to play Virginia, I guess, is going to be on their schedule next year, or is going to be on their schedule next year. Okay. So they had to add an ACC conference ball game. All right. Now, this sounds a lot like, we're firing you, but we're going to pay you anyways as a coach. We don't really want you to coach our team, but we're still going to pay you millions of dollars to not coach the team. All right. And so people say, oh boy, JMU, just go ahead and schedule your P4 teams. No problem. Play some tougher squads. Now, they're getting San Diego State, so they may be top 25 next year. That's pretty good. It's not Power 4. It's not in the ACC. You're not going to get the benefit of those other teams that Virginia Tech is going to play compared to San Diego State. All right. If you want to look at it that way, that may be more about college basketball and college baseball and college football, but still, you'd reap the benefits of an ACC schedule if you're JMU. All right. And so James Franklin running scared already. Probably not his call. And it's tough to say too much on this because, let's be honest, both JMU and Old Dominion are reloading. This is not like JMU's got the team coming back. JMU's starters all left. Most of them going to UCLA. One big one to UCF. Whereas Old Dominion's quarterback cashing in the big check at Wisconsin. All right. Excuse me. All right. So it's not as if one team was going to be significantly better than the other, at least to begin with on paper. Although it seems like JMU is doing a little bit better job in the portal. Please correct me if I'm wrong, ODU fans. Nonetheless, it does feel like, Virginia Tech could have said, thanks, VMI, we're going to let you go, and we're going to play the two Sunbelt teams. No, they want that win against VMI. They don't want to roll the dice against JMU, in this case, JMU. They are playing Old Dominion still, all right? And so this just goes back to the big thing, JMU, didn't beat anybody in the top 50 or anything along those lines. Play a tougher schedule. The team that they did play that was in the top 50, they lost by 2 touchdowns, all right? It's not easy. And it's really hard to get those home and homes. I think JMU had a home and home with Virginia at one point in time, right? They certainly Signetti beat them in Virginia. I believe in Charlottesville. So that was one thing. I thought that's where it was. And it's just really incredibly hard to Cajuns never do. Cajuns never get a home and home. We've seen other teams get home and homes, but now with a 9-team ACC schedule, really tough to get those in. admittedly. But this is the issue of being a group of 5 squad, is that you can't find teams to play. You don't think Matt Rohn went around asking the JMU AD? He went on and almost did like a Reddit question and answer session on Twitter on Wednesday and basically said we did what we could, right? This is just being the announced part. This is not like this was settled yesterday, I presume. They probably waited for JMU to get a deal with San Diego State, is what happened, right? And even the JMU fan base are like, can we drop Wagner? I think that's an FCS squad, right? And so that's an issue as well, because obviously JMU wants their schedule to be as tough as possible. And it's a whole new coaching staff. The starters, I think all 22 were gone. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but so many of them did enter the transfer portal. And from following JMU accounts, they seem to be really happy with what's going on with Billy Napier, bringing in a lot of athleticism on defense, bringing in some big guys on the offensive line. Billy's doing a pretty good job making a first impression there in Harrisonburg. Nonetheless, when you're JMU and you're looking at those football schedules and you see Virginia Tech, especially what ODU did to them last year, is that that can't be, speaking of that, that can't be a home and home, is it? Let me see here. No, the Old Dominion is playing Virginia Tech. Maybe it was 2 for 3 or 2 for 1. That's back in Blacksburg again. All right. So that's where they played them last year. And basically that's what got the Virginia Tech coach fired. He was the first one. Basically, I think he was the first one fired of the 2025 season. But obviously, I even saw Virginia Tech media criticizing the move, which you normally wouldn't see. All right. A lot of, Homer media out there. And it's refreshing when you see that. Like, Virginia Tech screwed up. All right. They could have gotten rid of VMI, played JMU, and have a little bit of competition. But it does look a little bit like James Franklin's running from the better competition. He's got, I think Kurt Cignetti's got more top 10 wins in 2 years at Indiana that James Franklin had in a decade at Penn State. So it's a thing. I happen to think James Franklin's a pretty good football coach. All right. We'll see how it works out with Matt Campbell at Penn State. All right. I think Matt Campbell got that job because he exceeds expectations at Iowa State, but that's a different episode, different podcast. But it's just sad when you see a team, and this is by no surprise, that people knew this was coming. This is no shock. All right. Disappointment, but no shock. People knew this was coming. And it just looks like the Hokies turned chicken, flat out. All right. And I'm sure the fans are going to be thrilled to see that, but they don't really care. All right. You watch all of the Virginia Tech fans that comment on this, they'll have all a good excuse. We got to play the ACC. All right. They may have to play the defending champions, right? Certainly team that played the national championship. But then there's a lot of teams that are not so great in the ACC. We'll see how good my Orange turn out to be. All right. So that was the story of the day on Wednesday. Hokies turn chicken, and JMU has to play San Diego State instead of the Power 4 school that they were hoping to do so. All right. What I thought was going to be a close game was anything, but it was close for about 12 minutes in the first half. And then boom, bada bing, Troy put the screws to Southern Miss. We'll talk about that next. Also, Marshall and Coastal Carolina played a heck of a ball game down in Huntington. Talk about that right after I tell you about Game Time. There's nothing like college football season. One more game to go. The tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever, but actually getting tickets, That part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. You can go from browsing to buying tickets in just minutes. I love being able to see the view from my seat before buying, so I knew exactly what I was getting. The zone deals stood out. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Knowing prices include all fees up front makes the whole process stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Should be a well of a game on Monday. Indiana in Miami, actually Miami Gardens, taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Looking forward to it. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Thought this would be a little bit closer of a ball game. All right. Final score ends up being, let's see here. 91-65. Troy beats Southern Miss. All right. And the blowout didn't happen in the second half. It didn't happen at the beginning of the game. It happened at the, I believe, 12-minute mark of the second half. All right. Because Israel Hart made a jumper for Southern Miss to make it 15-14. All right. Then they scored eight. They being Troy scored 8 straight points. But eventually they went on a 28-8 run. And as they say, that was your ball game. They ended up taking, I don't know if there was the halftime lead. They ended up leading 42-23. 15-14 was the score. Southern Miss ahead, 8:31 to go. So that's the 12 and a half minutes. We could do math again. 11 and a half minutes into the game. So 8:31 to go in the first half. With a minute 1 to go, it was 42-23. Minute 5 to go. The run was 28-8 over 7.5, just about 7.5 minutes, 7:26. Halftime was 42-26. I think Southern Miss made a little bit of a run to begin the second half. They got it down to 11. All right. 42-31. But that's basically about it. It was not close the rest of the way. This was all Troy. And this, I am more impressed with Troy than going to take it out on Southern Miss. This is the kind of team Troy is. Troy is really good. All right. I think Southern Miss is pretty good. But this tells you how much better Troy is. They shot 52% from the floor. Southern Miss shot 44%. Even at the end of the ballgame, with the bench in, Troy hit 6 out of their last 7 shots. Points off turnovers. Big difference in this ballgame. 25-7. Ouch. And the turnovers were the big difference. 18 turnovers for Southern Miss to just 8 for Troy. Anytime you're under 10 or less, as far as I'm concerned, that's a good deal. All right. In terms of leading the way, you do have the Campbell brothers, but in this case, it was Cobi Campbell with 30 points, 11-16 shooting, 6-9 from 3, 2-2 from the free throw line. All right. Victor Valdez had 19 points, and Thomas Dodd in a supporting role effort tonight. He had 11 points and 10 rebounds. All right. For Southern Miss, you did have 4 guys in double figures. Talik Weeks, he had 11. Dylan Brumfield had 11. Israel Hart had 12, so he led the way. And Bennett had a 10 as well. So, again, more impressed with Troy than criticizing Southern Miss. I did pick Southern Miss to cover, Troy to win. So 1-1 in that respect. But I I think Southern Miss is pretty good, but I also did mention that, if that defense from Troy gets going and the offense, well, the defense is usually there, but if that offense comes together and they start making buckets, they're tough to beat. And Southern Miss got that up close and personal. The better ball game of the two was Coastal Carolina and Marshall. And this was a whale of a second half. At one point in time, Coastal Carolina led by 10. Coastal Carolina won the ball game 85-83. I always seem to forget that little detail when I start to talk about it. So Coastal Carolina won it 85-83. How did we get there? Okay. I believe with 8 minutes, 12-18 to go. It's a 13-point ball game. Coastal Carolina in front. But I thought it was even, maybe not. That's when Marshall started to climb back into it, cutting it down to 9, cutting it down to 8, cutting it down to 6. Thing was, every time that Marshall seemed to make a bucket, Coastal would answer. They got it down to 3 a couple of times. Coastal would answer. Coastal shot the lights out in the second half. They shot 65% in the second half. They shot 56.6% for the game. To round that up, that's 57% for the game. Marshall only shot 47%, but they shot 53% from 3, 9-17, and Coastal was 10-22 from 3. So this was a great college basketball game, especially the last 10 minutes. All right. Otshudi had 30 for Marshall. He's 12-23. Jalen Spears, a little bit of an off night, 24 points, 9-22 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. All right. And Fricks had 11. All right. We'll get to him here in a minute. For Coastal Carolina, Beadle had 26, 9 of 15 shooting. Dancler had 26 on 8 of 11 shooting and 7 out of 7 free throws. Was that the biggest difference in the ball game, in a 2-point ball game? That's one of them. Coastal Carolina, 15 out of 17. Marshall, 10 out of 16. All right. Tough to ask you to make all of them, but you certainly can make 2 more out of those 6. And you have a different ball game. However, all right, Coastal Carolina was up 4 points. The game was tied. The game was tied at 80. Let me see if I get this right. Game was tied at 80. And Marshall did a good job of tying things up. And then Coastal drove to the bucket, and it was a great drive. Rasheed Jones went to the bucket, drew a double team, dropped it off for Nadrique Pete, who dunked it, had all of 6 points. Now it's 82 to 80. All right. Then Pete comes back and blocks a shot with Marshall trying to tie it up. About 20 seconds left, maybe 18 seconds left. Marshall fouls Coastal Carolina. And that makes it, they hit 2 free throws. That makes it 84 to 80. All right. Only 18 seconds left. All right. Otshudi comes down and falling away to his left, hits a 3-pointer, makes it a 1-point ball game. Coastal Carolina then is fouled, and they miss the first free throw, make the second free throw. So it's 85-83. Marshall gets it to Fricks. He misses a 3-pointer, so they actually go for a chance to win it with Fricks, which I do not have a problem of. He got an open look and missed it. They got 2 putbacks, and Caleb Hollenbeck was fouled on the second putback. Unfortunately, missed both free throws. Second one, he may have missed on purpose because once he missed the first one, they need a tip in to win the second to continue the ball game, get it to overtime. But the 85-83, it was a great basketball game. That's a disappointing loss if you're Marshall, because now all of a sudden you lost 2 ball games that you very could have well won, Georgia State and Coastal Carolina. Those 2 teams, although improved, are not in the top half of the Sun Belt. They're in the bottom half of the Sun Belt. Trying to get to the top half, now they each have wins over Marshall, who's falling to the bottom half. That's a disappointing loss. If you were Marshall, you probably are looking at, if you could be 5-1 instead of 3-3, they're 3-3. But one of those losses is to Georgia State, and one of them is to Coastal. One's at Georgia State, I believe, and one's at home to Coastal Carolina. They were behind the ball game all game long. When was the last lead that they had? Let me see. Well, their largest lead was 19-14. Last lead was 13-12. They mostly led. Coastal Carolina led 32 and a half minutes of the ball game. So that's a tough loss for Marshall home. Well of a ball game, but a tough loss and a nice win for Coastal Carolina. That's for sure. They could have wilted numerous times in that ball game, and yet they just kept on getting big bucket after big bucket. Marshall could never take the lead at the end. All right. There is one more game going on. We won't talk about it because the score will be irrelevant because it is going. If it does finish by the time we get to our next segment, by the end of the segment, we'll update it. Texas State hosting the Cajuns. All right. We will talk a little Cajuns here in a second, but we got basketball, got a big ball game. South Alabama hosting Arkansas State. That is happening tonight. We'll tell you that. We'll talk about that after. I thank everybody. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Appreciate the continued support. Still having a great month here in January. There's a ton going on, right? We got baseball preseason. Practice has started. College basketball is going on. The transfer portal is nuts. There is plenty to talk about. Virginia Tech goes running from JMU. So there is not a lack of topics to talk about. So I appreciate it. And I got people in the comments letting me know what's going on. An Illinois quarterback transferred into the Sun Belt. People are both telling me about the JMU situation. So I appreciate that. You know, I do generally have a job at work. Do have a job that's 8:30 to 5. So not easy to keep up with everything. So I appreciate all of your assistance. And I appreciate you guys commenting and letting me know and getting other people to subscribe. All right. Still trying to get to 30. We're not going to do that. We may be 25 short or so by the end of the week. But we still got a few more days left. Still trying to get to that 3,000 mark by baseball season. And that's going to be 4 weeks from Friday. So we'll see if we can pull that off. Maybe when those interviews start rolling with the baseball coaches, people will pick up on them. But I do appreciate it. And I want to thank you oh so much. All right. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, quickly, a little bit surprised before we get to the South Alabama ball game in Arkansas State, Walker Howard returning to Ole Miss. I'm a little bit surprised about that. I thought he was going to try and go to a place where he was going to not compete, that it was going to be his job, which basically it was with the Cajuns, but we kind of knew that coming in. I'm sure people are going to say, wow, he's going to Ole Miss. He's going to compete for the job. That's great. A lot of people run away from competition. I think it's good that you want to compete, right? You want to earn your job. He's got one more year left to play in college football. He wants to play. All right. He could have probably found a spot that wasn't the highest level, but he wants to play. Maybe he'll be the guy. All right. Chambliss isn't coming back, and I don't know who else is going to Ole Miss, but Chambliss is not one of them. He's out. All right. Austin Simmons is out, I believe. So maybe he can be the starter. I thought he was going to go somewhere else. I don't know where, but I did not think he was going to go back to the SEC and compete for a spot at Ole Miss. But maybe he likes the coaching staff, and we shall see how that all works out. Certainly wishing him the best, right? Wishing him all the best. All right. Big ball game tonight in the Sun Belt. You do have South Alabama hosting Arkansas State. Of course, it's an 8 p.m. ball game. But hashtag always bright side, I'm not working Friday, so maybe I'll stay up and watch it. South Alabama took down Georgia Southern on Saturday. There was a huge article today. We noticed this last year. A big article on South Alabama is like setting records for 3-point shots taken. And most of the shots taken against South Alabama are 3-pointers. I think we've pointed that out. Maybe not so much this year. We definitely did last year, that they were like either leading the country. They were either first or last, depending on how you want to look at it, at allowing 3 points taken. Not necessarily made, but taken. And so that article is out there. They do not allow drives to the bucket. That's what they're trying to prevent. And they're getting very good at it. Georgia Southern saw a lot of that. Okay. It'll be interesting because guess what Arkansas State likes to do? You know they like to take threes and drive to the hoop. Okay. Arkansas State has won 5 out of their last 6, and actually pretty good. Other than that, they have actually won, 5 out of 6 and add 5 more, but a loss. So that is 10 out of 12. Did I add that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's actually, what I said, 5 out of 6. And so it is 9 out of 11. There you go. They've won 9 out of their last 11 ball games with a win against Troy, with a 1-point win against Texas State. But they did have a tough loss to James Madison. South Alabama is coming in there with that huge win against Georgia Southern. Arkansas State is actually favored in this one. That is interesting. 3.5-point spread on the road. Whoa. South Alabama comes in winning 3 out of 4, and only I'd say 4 out of 6. They suffered some injuries when they lost to East Tennessee State 91-65, and then lost to North Texas by 1, 58-57. Had a huge comeback against Monroe, then let Texas State come back on them, settled down against crosstown school Mobile, beat the Cajuns, lost to Troy. And just to let you know how good a job they did defensively, Troy, what did we say, scored 91 points against Southern Miss. They scored 59 points against South Alabama. And then they do a number on Georgia Southern, 87-71 in a ball game that was mostly double digits in the second half. And South Alabama's got a shot here, to reel off some wins with Arkansas State at home. They get the Cajuns at home. Then they go on the road to play JMU and Marshall. Those games will not necessarily be easy. So this is a big ball game, and it is going to be offense versus defense. Let me see if we got. I don't know what South Alabama allows opponent-wise. They score 74 points a game. I'm sure, I would presume Arkansas State is in the 80s. Just over 83 points a ball game. All right. But I bet you, let me see if we got that here real quickly. Sorry. That South Alabama is allowing in the 60s basketball wise, defensively. Let's see here. Defense, South Alabama scoring 67.4. App State is 66.7. Arkansas State, on the other hand, does allow 78 points a ball game. Arkansas State is second in the conference at 83.7 points a game. Georgia Southern averages just over 86. So again, it is going to be offense with Arkansas State. I'm sorry, Arkansas State is they're third in the conference. That's what you get for not wearing your glasses. They're third in the conference in scoring 83.3. Troy leads the league in scoring. Georgia Southern is second. But South Alabama is second in the defense, allowed scoring 67.4. Let's see what it says for field goal. 3-point. This is percentages. All right. The opponents are shooting just over 30% from 3. All right. But just to give you an idea of how many more shots or 3-pointers against South Alabama, everybody's played about 18 or 19 ball games. South Alabama is one of 3 teams that's played 17. They have allowed, I'm looking at the wrong one. They have allowed 669 3-pointers. No one else has allowed more than 454. Coastal Carolina is second with 454. So, of course, South Alabama's allowed the most, 205, because that's all teams are shooting. And the next most is, it looks like 149. Georgia State Southern Miss allows threes at 161. I'm not sure if that includes tonight's ball game or last night's ball game or not. But I mean, South Alabama is daring you to shoot the three, and people take them up on that dare. That is for sure. All right. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt tonight, you do have James Madison and App State. App is a 1.5 point favorite at home. This could go either way. App State's going to slow it down. I just don't know what to make out of JMU anymore. They win games that they should not. They lose games that they should not. They're down by 17. They win those ball games. It is a bag of potpourri when you're James Madison. Let's see if App State can do it. App State comes in 3-3. JMU is 2-3. And then Georgia Southern trying to bounce back from that loss against South Alabama. They're hosting Old Dominion. Georgia Southern is a 6.5 point favorite. All right, so we will watch those ball games, and then we'll see if we have the episode first thing Friday morning for you, or am I getting up and actually I'm not going to the gym first thing Friday morning. I could sleep in a little bit, but I can have it. I can have it ready to go in a relatively timely fashion. We'll see. Need to start socializing a little bit more and go out and just watch some games there if I wanted to. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Big story. Virginia Tech hightailing it away from the Sun Belt. Not going to play JMU. Troy has a big second half. The first half, they pull away from Southern Miss. And Marshall and Coastal Carolina playing absolute classic, with Coastal Carolina prevailing in Huntington 85-83. And we'll see who stays hot, Arkansas State or South Alabama. All right. Do appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Please keep me updated on any transfer or anything that else is going on in the Sun Belt. I'm happy to address it in the episode if it's deemed worthy. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. You've been watching Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Have a great Thursday. We'll talk to you again on Friday.